Hi, everybody. It's Miss Mitchell here today on this Thursday. I hope you guys are all doing well. We are here today to read the next part, our next case in Encyclopedia Brown. I hope that you have your detective brains ready to start working, starting to put some of the pieces together and figuring out all of these clues. Some of these cases have been really tricky, so make sure we pay attention to each and every little detail because you never know what's going to be important. Okay? Get ready to solve it. All right, hope you're ready. Here we go. The case of the Forgetful Sheriff. Led by Mr. Scotty, the party of Eastern tourists rode the Texas Range. The hotel manager had promised them historic scenes of the old Wild West. Who knew what another mile might bring? Encyclopedia Brown knew. More blisters. He rode last in line. Behind him came only the chuck wagon with the food. Around noon, even the chuck wagon passed him. Encyclopedia didn't mind. It was lunchtime. Most of the tourists, including Encyclopedia, ate standing up. It made the boy detective mad to see his father sitting contentedly on the ground. "You don't look well, Leroy," he said. "I wish Bugs Meany were sitting in my place," said Encyclopedia. Chief Brown grinned. "I had the cowboy at the hotel give you the gentlest horse in the stable. Then I must have the toughest state saddle," answered Encyclopedia. "Say, Dad, do you think I made Mr. Scotty mad before?" "No, but you upset him when you figured out the truth about the gunfight between Ringo Charlie and Johnny Kidd," replied his father. "If you remember, that was yesterday's case." "I'll try to keep still," vowed Encyclopedia. For the next half hour of riding, there was little else to do. The horses plodded across flat grasslands. At last, Scotty called, "Dismount here, folks." The skinny little guide led the way to a pocket formed by 9 high rocks. "Now, this here spot is called Outlaw Cemetery. It was so named on account of the 5 outlaws done here 80 years ago," he began. "Them outlaws held up the bank at River Falls. They escaped with $12,000 in gold," said Mr. Scotty. Sheriff Wiggins immediately set out after the desperadoes, but he was new on the job and forgetful. He forgot to put on his 6-gun. Mr. Scotty paused. He looked at the crowd of tourists to see if everyone was paying attention. He looked especially at Encyclopedia. Then he resumed his tale. One of the citizens of River Falls happened to enter the sheriff's office. He saw the sheriff's 6-gun still on the desk. He quickly he spread the word. A posse of citizens was rounded up to ride out and help the unarmed lawmen capture the bank robbers. About 10 miles out of town, the posse heard gunplay. When the shooting stopped, the posse rode up to this here spot. Stretched out, dead as fish in a barrel, were them 5 outlaws. Mr. Scotty began hopping about as he warmed to his tale. Sheriff Wiggins, he said, had recovered the stolen gold, but he was wounded in his left arm. In his modest way, he told the posse what had happened. He said the lookout for the outlaws saw him coming and shot 2 bullets into his left arm. Suddenly, Mr. Scotty clutched his left arm above the elbow. Then he made a leap and began to throw himself around. Sheriff Wiggins said he wrested the lookout's pearl-handled 6-gun away despite his wounded left arm. Then he shot the lookout with his own gun. A bullet through the heart it was. At this point, Mr. Scotty dropped to one knee. Right away, the other 4 outlaws came at Sheriff Wiggins, shooting up a storm, he said. But the sheriff was cool as a hog on ice. He drilled them 4 desperados, bang, 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 in 4 seconds flat. The skinny little guide jumped to his feet. He was breathing heavily with the effort of acting out the heroic sheriff's one-man stand against the 5 outlaws. So that's Mr. Scotty acting out the scene for them, holding his arm and everything. The outlaws were buried on Boot Hill, he continued. The stolen gold was returned to the bank at River Falls. Everybody in town claimed Sheriff Wiggins ought to run for president. Mr. Scotty dusted himself off carefully, letting the tourists wait for more of the story. Then he said, the town gave a dinner for the sheriff, though he said he didn't deserve the honor. Why, he was only doing his duty getting back the stolen gold, he said. But Mr. Baker, the bank president, disagreed. Again, Mr. Scotty broke off his tale to look at the tourists. He shot Encyclopedia a sly glance. It seemed to say, ready to solve this one, sonny? Mr. Baker concluded, Mr. Scotty said Sheriff Wiggins had done a mite more than his duty, and since this was the lawman's last meal, he'd better eat well. Then Mr. Baker said something that made the three biggest men at the diner seize Sheriff Wiggins. Somebody got a rope, and at sunrise they hanged the lawman. The tourists gasped in amazement. After a brief silence, a lady from Vermont asked, what did Mr. Baker say that made them hang the sheriff? Why, now, that's the puzzle, isn't it? Replied Mr. Scotty. I don't expect that anybody here could solve it, could he? The skinny little guide did not mention anyone by name, but the grown-ups on the tour turned and looked at Encyclopedia. Chief Brown looked at him too. Should I speak out, Dad? And asked Encyclopedia. If you know what Mr. Baker said that made the citizens hang Sheriff Wiggins, said his father. Encyclopedia took a step forward. Mr. Baker said that. What did Mr. Baker say? So this is where the solution is. What did Mr. Baker say that had everybody hang the sheriff? Ooh. What could he have said? Any guesses? It could be pretty much anything. I feel like we need some more information here. But Mr. Baker was, let's try to put this together. Mr. Baker was the president, right? Was it the sheriff? Maybe the sheriff had stolen the gold from the outlaws? Any guesses what the three words could be? Because the outlaws had stolen the gold from the bank, and Mr. Baker was the bank person, right? So how could that be connected somehow? Any guesses? Let's try to figure it out. Ooh, I think I might know, at least a little bit. Did it say that he said three words, by the way? Oh, no, it's not three words. It made the three biggest men at the diner. Okay, so it doesn't have to be three words. He said something that made everybody go, huh? And know that the sheriff was guilty. So here we go. Here's the solution. Maybe you solved it. Mr. Baker said, you can't shoot 7 bullets from a 6-gun. Count them. Sheriff Wiggins claimed he was wounded in the left arm by 2 shots, meaning 2 bullets, from the lookout's 6-gun. He then seized the lookout's gun and killed him with it, 3 bullets. Then he shot the remaining 4 outlaws, gets us up to 7 bullets. Encyclopedia reasoned, as had Mr. Baker, that the sheriff was secretly a member of the hold-up gang. In riding after his outlaw partners, the lawman didn't bother to put on his gun because he didn't think he'd need it. Then he had a falling out over the division of the loot, probably. Getting hold of a gun, he surprised and killed his partners. Before he could ride off with the gold, the posse reached him. So he had to make up the story about shooting the 5 outlaws in the line of duty. Ooh, so he was part of it. I kind of got that part, but did you get the part that there was 7 bullets from the 6-bullet gun? So that's why. Interesting. Maybe you figured it out if you were thinking like our good old Encyclopedia Brown. All right, tomorrow we will be back with our next case, the case of the hungry hitchhiker. Have you ever been hitchhiking? No. Have you ever been hiking? Have you ever gotten hungry? I know I have. So maybe we'll be able to relate a little bit, even if we're not hitchhikers. We will see. We'll be back tomorrow with that case. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Goodbye.